Bitter criticism, reading the genocide dossier. Um, the genocide dossier, for coincidence or not, today I watched a movie called Hannah K from the year 83, the Costa Gavras director. It was a wonderful movie about, my opinion, it was about love, roles, and legality, of course. But formally, it was about the genocide about Palestine, about the Palestine genocide. I strongly recommend you this movie, Hannah K from Costa Gavras or something. 83, the year 83. And here we go. Gaza people, quote unquote, deserve a much better future, says President Trump. What? Trump is crazy. I'm going to try to read the legend of the description of the video of the streaming. Israel releases 9 more Palestinian detainees reporting torture. Gaza attacks continue as Rafah demolitions expand buffer zone. Live updates. Gaza people deserve a much better future, says President Trump. The subtitle says, Israel expects half of Gaza residents to flee as its military prepares an all-out invasion in the coming days, says Prime Minister. This is by Masair Motamendi, May 13. Looks like finally this cell phone is working. 4 attempts to work. Crazy cell phone. Updated a day ago, and there's a summary. A series of Israeli airstrikes on the European hospital in the southern Gaza kills and wounds dozens as its targeting of medical facilities continues. Second, Israel expects half of Gaza's 2.3 million people to leave as its military prepares an all-out assault in the next few days to defeat Hamas once and for all. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns. So, maybe this is the end of the genocide. Third, a World Health Organization official says without food, quote unquote, an entire generation of Palestinian children will be permanently affected by Israel's ongoing Gaza blockade and mass starvation campaign. Fifth, Israel's war on Gaza has killed at least 52,908 Palestinians and wounded 119,721, according to Gaza's health ministry. The government media office updated the death toll to more than 61,700, saying thousands of people missing under the rubble are presumed dead. An estimated 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led attacks on October 7, 2023, and more than 200 were taken captive. In my opinion, this was the worst military campaign in universe history. Anyway, because it's just too much suicide, you know? It was a suicide campaign. Anyway, Tuesday, May 13th, a few seconds ago. Quote, it's now we need to attack. UN food official warns of Gaza famine. Anthony Renard, the UN World Food Programme's WFP director for Gaza, says 1/4 of Gaza's population is at risk of famine. That's despite the fact that the food needed to feed the territory's population in sitting in warehouses in Israel, Egypt, and Jordan. Most of it not even 40 kilometers, 25 miles away. Renard said that WFP warehouses in Gaza are empty, and the agency has gone from providing meals for 1 million people at the end of April to producing only 250,000 meals daily. And says, quote, soon we are going to speak about the fact that people don't even have access to a meal, end quote. Renard warned. That's true. I was listening a podcast from Breaking News, ultra leftist channel. I like them. There's a beautiful journalist, and they say just that they are not even eating once a day. They are starving in Gaza. Renard warned, quote, is that where we needed to go to actually raise the alarm? It's now that we need to act, end quote. The warnings come after food security experts said on Monday that Gaza will likely fall into famine if Israel doesn't lift its blockade and stop its military campaign. Nearly 500,000 Palestinians are facing possible starvation. And there's a graphic now. 576,000 Palestinians in Gaza are one step away from famine. That's almost a million. Yeah, that's 23% of 2.3 million people living in Gaza. 25%. Yeah. So this is not living anymore, And the worst thing is that they are not allowed to go away, to go to Colombia, let's say. Go to Colombia and forget about them. Anyway, go to the frontier between Panama and Colombia. There's nothing there, just crime and drugs and monkeys. 10 minutes ago, witness describes quote-unquote catastrophic Gaza hospital attack. Gaza Civil Defense Agency says at least 28 people were killed after Israeli airstrikes pounded the European hospital in Khan Yunis. Quote, it was an utterly catastrophic scene, end quote, said Amrot Tabash, a local photojournalist. Quote, everyone inside the hospital, patients and wounded alike, was running in fear, some on crutches, others screaming for their children, while others were being dragged on beds, end quote, he added. The Israeli military said it hit a Hamas quote-unquote command and control center, a common response when it attacks civilian areas. And there's another graphic. The light is just too weak, but I have no battery. I have just 3% of battery. And the graphic says, Israel's war on Gaza. Half of Gaza's hospital destroyed. Israel's attack on hospitals have left millions without healthcare, while more than 110,000 people were injured in air raids. And that's it. 50,000 of hospitals are particularly, I guess, destroyed. I don't know. It's too small. 25 minutes ago, Thursday, May 13th, Israeli army reiterates slain Palestinian journalists, quote-unquote Hamas terrorists. The Israeli military has again claimed that a journalist it kills in a target attack in Gaza was quote-unquote a quote-unquote key terrorist working for Hamas. It said in a statement that Hassan Eslai, the director of the Alam 24 news agency and a freelancer who contributed to international news organizations, quote, was operating under the guise of a journalist and owner of a media company, end quote. The army claimed it without providing any evidence that Eslaid, who was killed while receiving treatment at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, was a terrorist in the Khan Yunis brigade, end quote, of Hamas. It released an image taken and posted by Eslaid during the Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attacks inside Israel, which showed Palestinians burning an Israeli tank. The Israeli army has killed a record 215 journalists in the besieged enclave since the start of the war, which has also new live update, which I lost myself, which has also killed at least 52,908 Palestinians. Let's see the new live updates. New live update, and there's a photograph. Mourners attend the funeral of Palestinian journalist Hassan Eslaid. A lot of killing. A few seconds ago, quote unquote, deeply disturbed, Norway calls on Israel to lift Gaza blockade. Norway's Minister of International Development, Asmund Aukrust, made the call after a global hunger monitor reported the entire population of Gaza is facing famine as a result of Israel blocking all food and humanitarian aid from entering. Quote, using starvation as a method of warfare is prohibited under international law. End quote. What about law, isn't it? What about international? What about law? Aukrust said in a post on X, adding that the United Nations and other international aid agencies must be allowed to do their job in line with humanitarian principles. The report by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification (IPC) initiative also found that about 93% of Gaza's population of 2.3 million is experiencing acute food shortages. And let's find ourselves right here, I guess 35 minutes ago. It says Israeli army reiterates slain Palestinian journalist, a Hamas terrorist. I guess I've been reading this. Yeah, I read that. What Netanyahu is doing in Gaza is shameful. Francis Macron, even Macron. Even Macron, and my battery is dying, but I'm going to read this very last one. 1 hour ago, French President Emmanuel Macron says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's policy in Gaza, where half a million Palestinians face starvation, is reprehensible, and Europeans should consider increasing sanctions. Quote, what he's doing is shameful, end quote, Macron said during an interview on TF1 television. Israel has sealed off the Gaza Strip since early March, when it resumed its devastating military campaign against Hamas. Thousands of aid trucks remain in the Egyptian border, waiting in vain to get in because of Israel's total blockade. This is the worst nightmare humankind have ever made, you know. And there's of course a photograph of Netanyahu and Macron all together. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu left with France's President Macron in 2017. So this is the same thing. Macron is just as imperialist, just as fascist as Netanyahu and Hitler. terrible, terrible. Because Palestinians cannot go outside. Palestinians cannot live. That's the worst detail in my opinion. They cannot live